Have you ever walked away from a conversation feeling utterly exhausted, as if your very life force had been siphoned away? Have you ever found your own ambitions dimming, your optimism soured, not by your own failures, but by the subtle, persistent influence of someone else? We often think of danger in terms of physical threats, but the ancient Stoics knew that the greatest dangers are those that lay siege to our minds, our tranquility, and our character. They understood that the people we allow into our lives are either architects of our growth or agents of our decay. Today, we will fortify our defenses. We will learn to identify 5 types of dangerous people, not dangerous in the conventional sense, but far more insidious. They are the thieves of joy, the assassins of ambition, and the enemies of inner peace. By learning to recognize them, you are not learning to judge, but to discern. You are not learning to hate, but to protect. As Seneca the Younger advised, associate with those who will make a better man of you. Welcome those whom you yourself can improve. The process is mutual, for men learn while they teach. This is a call to curate your circle with the same care a gardener tends to their most prized plants, ruthlessly weeding out that which chokes the life from the soil. Let us begin our study of these architects of ruin so that we may recognize them, and in doing so, protect the garden of our own minds. And if you stay until the end, I will share a powerful parable that perfectly captures this entire lesson. Type number 1, the perpetual victim. The first individual you must learn to recognize is the perpetual victim. This person lives under a perpetually dark cloud, but it is a cloud of their own making. To them, life is not a series of challenges to be met or opportunities to be seized, but a relentless parade of injustices inflicted upon them. They are the protagonist in a tragic play where every other character, their boss, their family, the barista who gave them the wrong milk, is a villain. When you first meet them, your empathy is triggered. You listen, you offer support, you want to help them see the silver lining. But you soon realize there is no silver lining they are willing to see. Every solution you offer is met with a new problem. Every piece of advice is deflected with a yes, but their identity is fused to their suffering. To solve their problems would be to lose their sense of self. The danger of the perpetual victim is not merely that they are draining, though they are profoundly so. The true danger is that their mindset is contagious. Like a subtle gas leak, their perspective seeps into your own consciousness. You begin to see slights where there are none. You start to feel powerless in your own life. Their worldview, which absolves them of all responsibility, begins to erode your own sense of agency. The Stoics teach us that our power lies not in controlling external events, but in controlling our response to them. Epictetus, a man who was born a slave and became one of the most revered philosophers of his time, stated it plainly: it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. The perpetual victim lives in direct opposition to this fundamental truth. They have surrendered their power, and by spending time in their presence, you risk surrendering yours. They teach you to focus on what is outside your control, to blame others, and to marinate in resentment. This is the path to a weak and fragile mind. When you encounter a perpetual victim, your task is not to fix them. You cannot. Your task is to protect your own perspective. Limit your exposure. When you must interact, do not engage in the game of finding blame. Steer the conversation towards solutions and accountability, not as a way to change them, but as a way to maintain your own mental framework. Remember the words of Marcus Aurelius: you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Do not let the perpetual victim convince you otherwise. Type number 2, the gossiper. The second figure who poses a threat to your inner peace is the gossiper, the sower of discord. This person traffics in the currency of rumor, speculation, and the failures of others. Their conversations are rarely about ideas or principles. They are about people. They bring you news, but it is news that serves no purpose other than to demean, to judge, and to create a false sense of intimacy built on shared negativity. The allure of the gossiper is subtle. Listening to them can make you feel like you're on the inside, part of an exclusive circle of knowledge. It can momentarily distract you from your own struggles by focusing on the perceived flaws of others. But this is a hollow and toxic pleasure. Engaging in gossip is like eating junk food for the soul. It provides a fleeting taste of satisfaction, but leaves you spiritually malnourished. The Stoic danger of the gossiper is threefold. First, they waste your most valuable, non-renewable resource, your time and attention. Every moment spent discussing the affairs of others is a moment not spent on your own improvement, your work, or your duties. Second, they corrupt your character. By listening to and participating in gossip, you are training your mind to be petty and judgmental. Third, they destroy trust. If someone is gossiping to you, it is a certainty that they are gossiping about you. Socrates, the philosophical forefather of the Stoics, was said to have a powerful method for dealing with such people, known as the triple filter test. When an acquaintance ran up to him to share a rumor, Socrates stopped him. He asked if the man was certain the story was true, if it was good, and if it was useful. The man had to admit it was none of these things. Well, concluded Socrates, if what you want to tell me is neither true, nor good, nor even useful, why tell it to me at all? This is the shield you must use. Filter their words, politely interrupt and redirect. You are not just deflecting negativity, you are setting a standard for the conversations you are willing to have, declaring that your mind is not a dumping ground for a toxic waste. Type number 3, the flatterer. The third dangerous individual is perhaps the most seductive and difficult to repel, the flatterer, the honey-tongued deceiver. Unlike the victim or the gossiper, the flatterer does not come bearing negativity. They come bearing gifts of praise, admiration, and seemingly unwavering support. They tell you what you want to hear. They magnify your strengths, minimize your weaknesses, and assure you that your every decision is brilliant. The danger of the flatterer is the danger of a sweet poison. It tastes wonderful, but it slowly corrupts your system from the inside out. The flatterer attacks your connection to reality. By constantly inflating your ego, they create a distorted self-image that is fragile and dependent on their approval. You begin to crave their praise and fear their silence. Your motivation shifts from the intrinsic satisfaction of doing good work to the external validation they provide. Seneca wrote extensively on this, warning that flattery is a sort of friendship in caricature. It mimics the support of a true friend, but it is hollow and self-serving. A true friend, a true mentor, will challenge you. They will tell you the hard truths. They will point out your blind spots, not out of malice, but out of a genuine desire to see you grow. The flatterer does the opposite. They keep you comfortable, complacent, and weak, seeing your potential only as a vehicle for their own advancement. To be surrounded by flatterers is to walk through a hall of distorted mirrors. You lose the ability to accurately self-assess and become deaf to legitimate criticism, making you vulnerable to catastrophic errors in judgment. This is why you must cultivate a love for the truth, especially when it is uncomfortable. Seek out critics, not just cheerleaders. When someone praises you, receive it with grace, but also with skepticism. Value the friend who has the courage to tell you you're wrong. Cherish the colleague who points out a flaw in your plan. These are the people who respect you enough to be honest. They are the true architects of your growth, while the flatterer builds you a beautiful house on a foundation of sand. Type number 4, the cynic. The fourth person who threatens your progress is the cynic, the dream crusher. Where the flatterer builds you up with false praise, the cynic tears you down with relentless negativity and doubt. To the cynic, every ambition is naive, every ideal is a fantasy, and every effort is doomed to fail. They are masters of the dismissive scoff, the condescending eye roll, and the "I told you so." The cynic often masquerades as a realist or an intellectual. They frame their pessimism as a sign of superior intelligence, as if seeing the worst in everything is a mark of wisdom. They will dissect your goals and present you with a comprehensive list of all the reasons you will fail. They will point to the success of others and attribute it to luck, corruption, or privilege, thereby devaluing the very possibility of earned achievement. The true danger of the cynic is that they attack the very root of action, belief. To undertake any worthy endeavor requires faith, and the cynic's goal is to extinguish it. The Stoics would see this as a corrupted worldview, an abandonment of the pursuit of excellence. Their cynicism is a defense mechanism to justify their own inaction. If everything is doomed, their lack of effort is not a personal failing, but a rational choice. A single cynical comment can plant a seed of doubt, making you feel foolish for even trying. Over time, this can lead to a state of learned helplessness, where you stop pursuing ambitious goals altogether. When dealing with a cynic, do not try to convince them. Their cynicism is not a logical position to be debated. It is an emotional fortress. Arguing with them is like wrestling in the mud. You both get dirty and they enjoy it. Your energy is better spent elsewhere. The most powerful response to a cynic is not an argument, but your own continued action. Let your progress be your rebuttal. Protect your enthusiasm as you would a fragile flame in a storm. Share new ideas with builders and encouragers, not with those who have given up on their own dreams. Type number 5, the unbridled emotionalist. The final dangerous person on our list is the unbridled emotionalist, the tempest. This individual is a slave to their passions. Their life is a roller coaster of extreme highs and devastating lows, and they insist on strapping you in for the ride. One moment they are euphoric and full of grand plans, the next they are in the depths of despair or a fit of rage over a minor inconvenience. There is no stability, no predictability, only a constant state of emotional chaos. Living or working with a tempest is like trying to navigate a ship in a hurricane. You are constantly bracing for the next wave of emotion. Their moods dictate the atmosphere of the entire room, the entire relationship. You find yourself walking on eggshells, carefully managing your words and actions to avoid triggering an outburst. Your own emotional state becomes secondary to theirs, your needs subsumed by the urgent and overwhelming nature of their feelings. The Stoic ideal is apatheia, not apathy in the modern sense of not caring, but a state of tranquility and freedom from disturbing passions. It is the ability to experience emotions without being controlled by them. The unbridled emotionalist is the living antithesis of this ideal. They are completely at the mercy of their every whim and feeling, and they create a vortex of instability that pulls in everyone around them. This chaos becomes your new normal, and your own ability to maintain equilibrium is eroded. Marcus Aurelius sought to anchor himself against such tempests. He wrote, "Be like the promontory against which the waves continually break, but it stands firm and tames the fury of the water around it." This must be your goal. You must become the rock, not another wave. This doesn't mean being cold, but offering support from a place of stability. You can say, "I see that you are very angry right now. I am willing to talk about this when you feel calmer." You are acknowledging their feeling without getting swept up in it. You are not responsible for managing their emotions. Your responsibility is to manage your own, and if necessary, to create distance as an act of self-preservation. Now, before you go, let us tie all of this together with a story that illustrates the journey we all face, the parable of the Sunstone Pilgrimage. A young man set out on a long pilgrimage to the legendary Sunstone, a gem said to rest atop the highest peak of a treacherous mountain range, granting wisdom to any who reached it. The path was long, and he knew he could not make it alone. At the foot of the mountains in a bustling outpost, he sought companions for his journey. The first to offer his company was a man with downcast eyes, who spoke of the terrible luck he'd had his whole life. He complained that his boots were poorly made. The mountain was too steep and the sun too harsh. He sighed with every step, and the weight of his sorrow seemed to make the young man's own pack feel heavier, his own feet sore. The journey, once an adventure, began to feel like a punishment. Soon they were joined by a second man, a fast talker who knew the names and histories of every traveler who had ever failed on the mountain. He would whisper stories of how one fell because of pride, another because of foolishness. He pointed out paths he claimed were cursed and springs he insisted were poisoned, creating an air of suspicion and mistrust that made the young man doubt every shadow and sound. A third companion joined them, a man with a brilliant smile who praised the young man's every move. "Your stride is so powerful," he would exclaim. "Your navigation is flawless." The young man, buoyed by the constant praise, grew confident and ignored a small sign warning of unstable ground. He took a step and nearly plunged into a hidden crevasse, saved only at the last moment. He realized his companion's sweet words had deafened him to clear warnings. The fourth to join their party was a man who scoffed at the legend of the Sunstone. "It's just a rock," he sneered. "A fool's errand. The cliffs will crumble, the storms will come, and we will fail. Only an idiot would think this journey has a purpose." The young man felt his own hope, the very fuel for his pilgrimage, beginning to flicker and die under the cold blanket of the man's certainty. The fifth and final companion was a man of wild, shifting moods. One hour he would race ahead, singing and laughing at the beauty of the peaks. The next, after stumbling on a loose stone, he would fall into a rage, cursing the mountain and throwing his supplies. His unpredictable nature kept the entire party on edge, unable to find a steady rhythm, lurching between his manic joy and his sudden fury. One evening, exhausted and disheartened, the young man looked at his companions huddled around a small, sputtering fire. He saw the victim, the gossiper, the flatterer, the cynic, and the tempest. He realized that the mountain was not his greatest obstacle. His true challenge was the company he kept. He had sought companions to help him on his journey, but had instead chosen anchors. The next morning, the young man rose before dawn. He left the 5 sleeping men and continued his ascent alone. The path was still difficult, but his pack felt lighter. The air seemed clearer, and his hope, once dimmed, now burned as brightly as the rising sun. He understood then that the first step to reaching any summit is to leave behind those who would pull you down. The journey to the sunstone, like the journey to a better version of ourselves, is fraught with challenges. As the parable illustrates, the most treacherous terrain is often not the world outside, but the company we choose to navigate it with. The victim, the gossiper, the flatterer, the cynic, and the tempest are not just characters in a story. They are archetypes of influence that can anchor us to our worst impulses. Recognizing them is the first act of liberation. This is not about casting judgment or becoming isolated, but about practicing wise discernment. It is about understanding that your peace of mind, your character, and your ambitions are sacred, and they deserve to be protected with the vigilance of a guard at the gate of a citadel. Therefore, take this knowledge and apply it. Conduct a quiet audit of the influences in your own life. Who are the companions on your pilgrimage? Do they lighten your pack or add to its weight? Do they point towards the summit or whisper of the chasms below? Choosing your company is one of the most significant choices you have within your control. It is an act of profound self-respect. To build a life of purpose, tranquility, and virtue, you must surround yourself with fellow architects, not with agents of decay. Your life is your great journey. Choose your companions wisely and walk your path with strength.